Hello, here is the first chapter of your book, Two Gentlemen of Verona by A.J. Cronin. Basically, this chapter is the author's first hand encounter with two boys. These are those two boys, and this encounter takes place in the town of Verona. The author calls these two boys gentlemen. Here you can see in the title he has written Two Gentlemen of Verona. Why does he call them gentlemen? Because of their gentleman-like qualities. We'll come to know about it further as we go through the chapter. I'll tell you something about the author A.J. Cronin. His name was Archibald Joseph Cronin, and he was a Scottish novelist and physician. Here you can see this is the world map, and this portion which is colored in red, this falls in the continent of Europe. This is Scotland. Cronin gave up practicing medicine and took to writing as a career. He wrote a number of novels and short stories. Among his best known novels are The Citadel, The Key of the Kingdom, and The Spanish Gardener. Also, some of his novels have been made into successful films. As we drove through the foothills of the Alps, two small boys stopped us on the outskirts of Verona. Here the narrator is telling us that they were driving through the foothills of the Alps. Alps is a mountain range in Europe. It passes through 8 countries: Austria, France, Germany, Italy, Liechtenstein, Monaco, Slovenia and Switzerland. Here you can see this is the map of Europe, and these red colored lines are the Alps. So the narrator is saying they were driving through the foothills of the Alps somewhere here. There they were stopped by two small boys. These are those two small boys. They were on the outskirts of Verona. Verona is a city in Italy. This is the map of Italy, and this red colored portion is the town of Verona. Romeo and Juliet, these are the two characters of the famous play written by Shakespeare. These characters are believed to have lived in Verona. They were selling wild strawberries. "Don't buy," warned Luigi, our cautious driver. "You will get fruit much better in Verona. Besides, these two boys who had stopped the car of the narrator, they were selling wild strawberries. "Don't buy," warned Luigi, our cautious driver. So the driver of the narrator warned them that they should not buy these strawberries from these boys. He says, "You will get fruits much better in Verona. Besides, these boys." So he is having a dislike for these boys from their appearance. He does not like them, and so he is very cautious, and he tells the narrator that the fruit in the town will be much better. Stops them from buying fruit from these boys. He shrugged his shoulders to convey his disapproval of their shabby appearance. So here the driver is conveying his disapproval by shrugging his shoulder. He is disapproving the boys because they are dressed in a very poor condition. So he feels that as they are dressed in a poor condition, so similarly the fruit, the strawberries which they are selling, they must be of an inferior quality. Shabby means in poor condition through long use or lack of care. One boy had on a worn jersey and cut-off khaki pants. The other a shortened army tunic gathered in loose folds about his skinny frame. Yet, gazing at the two little figures with their brown skins, tangled hair, and dark, earnest eyes, we felt ourselves strangely attracted. My companion spoke to the boys, discovered that they were brothers. Nicola, the elder, was 13. Jacopo, who barely came up to the door handle of the car, was nearly 12. We bought their biggest basket, then set off toward town. Now here the narrator is describing the two boys. He says one of them had on a worn jersey. Worn jersey means that it was worn out. Maybe it could be even torn at some places. And cut off khaki pants. Cut off means that cut off indicates that it was not of his size and he had cut it off in order to make it fit to him. The second boy wore a shortened army tunic. Again, this tunic was also not of his size and he had shortened it. It was gathered in loose folds about his skinny frame. So the tunic was very loose for him and it was gathered around his waist. The boy has a skinny frame. Skinny means very thin. Then the narrator says, yet gazing at the two little figures with their brown skins, tangled hair, and dark, earnest eyes. Earnest here means sincere and very serious. We felt ourselves strangely attracted. So the author and his companion were strangely attracted towards the expression of seriousness, the earnest look in their eyes. This attracted the narrator and his companion towards the boys. My companion spoke to the boys, discovered that they were brothers. So this is the elder boy. His name is Nicola. He is 13 years. The younger one is Jacopo. He is so small that he can barely come up to the door handle of the car, and he was nearly 12 years of age. The narrator and his companion bought their biggest basket of strawberries and then they set off towards the town of Verona. Next morning, coming out of our hotel, we saw our friends bent over shoe shine boxes beside the fountain in the public square, doing brisk business. Now, as the narrator and his companion were visitors to Verona, they were staying in a hotel. And the next morning, when they came out, they saw our friends here refer to these two boys. They saw them, they were doing shoe shine business. They were working as shoe shine boys, sitting beside the fountain in the public square. Public square is the central place of the town, and they were doing a brisk business. Brisk means quick and very fast, so they were working very quickly, earning lots of money. We watched for a few moments. Then, as trade slackened, we went over. They greeted us with friendly faces. The narrator and his companion watched the boys working so briskly, and as their trade slackened. Slackened means as it slowed down, the narrator and his companion went over to the boys. He says that the boys greeted them with friendly faces. So they recognized the author and his companion as they had sold them strawberries the day before. That is why they greeted them with friendly faces. I thought you picked fruit for a living, I said. "We do many things, sir," Nicola answered seriously. Now the narrator says to the boys that as they were selling strawberries the day before, he thought that that is what they did to earn a living. And in reply to him, the elder brother Nicola says that they do many things, and his voice is very serious. He glanced at us hopefully. "Often we show visitors through the town to Juliet's tomb and other places of interest." Now the boy Nicola looked at the narrator and his companion hopefully. He was hopeful, and he tells them that often they show visitors through the town. So he is hopeful because as the narrator and his companion are also visitors to Verona, he hopes that they can also employ their services and the boys can earn some money. That is why he looks at them hopefully. Then he tells them that they take visitors to Juliet's tomb. Juliet's tomb is the place where Juliet is the woman whom Romeo loved, and she was buried. That place is called Juliet's tomb. Romeo and Juliet is a play which was written by Shakespeare. This is the image of the Juliet's tomb, which is a very famous place of tourist attraction in Verona and other places of interest. "All right," I smiled. "You take us along." As we made the rounds, my interest was again provoked by their remarkable demeanor. They were childish enough and in many ways quite artless. Jacopo was lively as a squirrel. Nicola's smile was steady and engaging. Yet, in both these boyish faces, there was a seriousness which was far beyond their years. The narrator has employed these boys to take them through the town of Verona, and he says as they were going around, his interest was again provoked. Provoked means that it was again awakened. He was again attracted towards their remarkable demeanor. Demeanor means their appearance and their behavior was such that once again the narrator was attracted towards these boys. He says they were childish enough and in many ways quite artless. Artless means they were innocent, natural and simple. He says Jacopo was lively as a squirrel. So he is comparing the liveliness of Jacopo to that of a squirrel. Nicola's smile was steady and engaging. So here the narrator has drawn a contrast between Nicola and Jacopo. He says Jacopo, who was the younger brother, was lively and very childish. The elder brother Nicola was maturer and his eyes wore an expression of seriousness. Yet in both these boyish faces there was a seriousness which was far beyond their years. So the narrator says that although the boys were childish, yet there was a seriousness in their eyes which was much beyond their age. Their age is only 12 and 13 years, and children of that age usually do not have such an expression of seriousness in their eyes. Probably this could be because they had faced harshness of life at a very early age. This could be the reason for the seriousness in their eyes. If we wanted a pack of American cigarettes or seats for the opera or the name of a good restaurant, Nicola and Jacopo could be relied upon to satisfy our needs. So the narrator is telling us that these boys were very earnest. They would do any kind of work and they helped them in many ways. They got them American cigarettes, seats for the opera, and even told them the name of a good restaurant. What struck one most was their willingness to work. During these summer days, under the hot sun, they shined shoes, sold fruit, hawked newspapers, conducted tourists round the town, and ran errands. These boys were very dedicated and they were willing to work. As we can see here, they were also working so much for the narrator and his companion, and the narrator observed that as it was so hot during summers, during the daytime when there was the sun overhead, they would shine shoes near the fountain in the center square. They would sell fruit, distribute newspapers, and also take tourists round the town. Also, they would do small petty jobs for any person. Just their aim was to earn the maximum amount of money. One night, we came upon them in the windy and deserted square, resting on the stone pavement beneath the lights. Nicola sat upright, tired. A bundle of unsold newspapers lay at his feet. Jacopo, his head resting upon his brother's shoulder, was asleep. It was nearly midnight. "Why are you out so late, Nicola?" On one night, the narrator and his companion, they were walking through the central square, and they saw that these two boys were resting on the stone pavement beneath the lights. It was deserted, means the square was empty. There were no people over there. Nicola was sitting upright, but he was tired. There was a bundle of unsold newspapers lying at his feet. The younger boy, Jacopo, had his head resting upon his brother's shoulder and he was sleeping. The narrator observed that it was almost midnight. Midnight means 12 o'clock in the night. He asked Nicola that why were they out so late. "Waiting for the last bus from Padua. We shall sell all our papers when it comes in." "Must you work so hard? You both look rather tired." "We are not complaining, sir. But next morning, when I went over to the fountain to have my shoes shined, I said, 'Nicola, the way you and Jacopo work, you must earn quite a bit. You spend nothing on clothes. You eat little enough. When I see you have a meal, it's usually black bread and figs. Tell me, what do you do with your money?" So Nicola replies to the narrator. He says that they are waiting for the last bus from Padua. They plan that they will sell all the unsold newspapers to the travelers in the bus. The narrator is amazed at the hard work that the boys are doing. He says that you both look rather tired. Nicola replies that they are not complaining. And they do not have any problem. But the narrator was not satisfied. So the next morning, when he went over to the fountain to get his shoes shined, he told Nicola, he said, "The way you and Jacopo are working, you must be earning a lot of money." And he felt that they did not spend any money on clothes. Also, they ate very little food. And usually he says he had seen them eating black bread, which is very cheap, and figs. Figs are a fruit. Here you can see these are figs. So he tells to Nicola, "Tell me, what do you do with your money?" He is very concerned about these boys and he asks him that For what are they collecting so much money, and what do they do with it? Now, just as the narrator had asked this question, he observes that Nicola changed. The narrator says, he colored deeply under his sunburn, then grew pale. He looked to the ground. So now the narrator observed that just as he asked Nicola that what did they do with this money, Nicola heard the narrator's question. He became very cheerful and excited. There was a pink blush on his face. The narrator observed that the pink color was so prominent that it was even visible through his dark sunburnt skin. He says he colored deeply under his sunburn. And then suddenly he saw that there was an afterthought in Nicola's mind. This afterthought aroused emotions in him. It was the thought of his ailing sister. The boys were collecting the money for her treatment. The thought of his sister, she was suffering from such a horrible disease, this thought made him sad, and his face turned pale, dull, and colorless. That is why the narrator says, then grew pale. The boy Nicola looked to the ground because he had all of a sudden he had become sad. You must be saving up to emigrate to America, I suggested. He looked at me sideways, spoke with an effort. We should greatly like to go to the States, but here at present we have other plans. So the narrator tries to lighten up Nicola. He says that you are saving so much of money as if you have to emigrate to America. Emigrate means to leave your own country in order to settle permanently in another country. At this question, Nicola looked at the author sideways, from the side of his eyes. He did not want to look directly into his eyes. And he spoke with an effort. So he was so sad that even now he was not able to speak. He says we should like to go to the States. He says that they would appreciate, they would love to go there, but as of now they had some other plans.